The first snow of December powdered Logan Square like confectioner's sugar the morning Lila Marquez opened panel by panel. She unlocked the double-paned door, flicked on the neon lightning bolt sign, and inhaled the comforting scent of cardboard, ink, and the faint caramel note from yesterday's popcorn tasting. Since inheriting the comic shop from her grandfather, Lila had learned that a store could be a living thing. The heat pipes hissed like an old man clearing his throat, and the long boxes lining the aisles seemed to lean toward her in greeting. Wednesday was delivery day, so she expected nothing more dramatic than a shipment of variant covers. Instead, the UPS driver handed her a single weather-spotted envelope bearing no return address. Inside lay a slabbed plastic-sealed comic, The Copper Sentinel 913, published in 1948 by a defunct Chicago imprint called Lakeshore Comics. Lila whistled. Issues for 1 to 12 were already white whales for Golden Age collectors, but number 13 was practically a rumor. She set the slab beside the cash register and texted her friend Jonah Ellison, a retired librarian who spent every afternoon in the store's reading nook. "You might want to see this," she wrote. Jonah arrived before the kettle finished boiling for tea. Grey cardigan flapping like a superhero cape, he adjusted his bifocals over the slab. "Well, I'll be. Where did you find it?" "It found me," Lila said, recounting the envelope mystery. Jonah chuckled. "The universe gifts strange things to comic shops. Shall we open it?" Slabbing increased value, but curiosity won out. Lila sliced through the tamper-evident sticker with a craft knife. The cover art showed the Copper Sentinel, half detective, half costumed adventurer, perched on a Chicago L with Lake Michigan in the background. At his feet, a raccoon-masked burglar fled a storefront labeled Velvet Crust Bakery. "That's around the corner," Jonah observed. "They make those guava hand pies you like." "So our heroes protecting pastries," Lila said, smiling. She turned the page. Panels leapt out in classic four-color style. The raccoon burglar smashing a display, police scratching their heads, then the sentinel deciphering clues among powdered sugar footprints. Lila read aloud, giving each character a voice. Jonah supplied dramatic sound effects. Halfway through, a tiny margin note in red pencil caught her eye. In spidery handwriting, "Tomorrow, 3 a.m., trust the trap door." "Was that printed?" Jonah asked. "Looks added later, but why write a note in a comic slabbed shut decades ago?" They debated provenance until the lunch rush arrived, mostly regulars trading pull list banter. By 3, quiet settled again. Lila brewed cinnamon cafecito, and the two of them continued reading. The issue's second story arc centered on a plot to siphon water from the rooftop tower above Kimball Avenue, flooding basements to mask museum burglaries. Lakeshore Comics had flair for local color, Jonah mused. He checked his watch. "I promised my choir director I wouldn't be late. Guard that relic, kiddo." Lila locked up at 7, tucked the Sentinel into the shop's back safe, and trudged home through glittering snow. She lived upstairs from the shop, so sleep came quickly. At 6:30 a.m. she awoke to frantic banging on her door. It was Noreen, owner of Velvet Crust Bakery, flour streaking her cheeks like war paint. "We've been robbed," she cried. "Sometime before dawn, broke the front window, took our cash jar, even my grandmother's silver pastry wheel." Lila's stomach dropped. The comic's first story had come to life. She followed Noreen to the bakery. Police tape fluttered against the broken glass. Officer Harriet Delgado, who weekly bought Archie digests, took statements. Lila waited until Harriet's notepad closed before leaning in. Harriet, the thief wore a raccoon mask, didn't he? Harriet's brows rose. How could you know that? It's complicated. Lila invited her upstairs to explain. They sat in Lila's kitchen over microwaved empanadas, the sentinel open between them. Harriet, pragmatic to the bone, listened without interrupting, though her expression deepened from curiosity to alarm. So you're saying someone used this comic as a blueprint? Harriet asked. Or the comic is prophetic, Lila ventured, wincing. Harriet scoffed. Let's stick with human culprits. She tapped the marginal note. Tomorrow, 3 a.m., that lines up with the bakery break-in. What about the next crime? Lila flipped pages until she found a second red-penciled scrawl. Friday, just before dawn. Watch the water. Harriet straightened. There's a century-old wooden water tower on Kimball slated for demolition, but still half full. If someone breached it, flood city property, maybe distract from burglary. Like in the comic, Lila whispered. Harriet closed the issue gently. I'll alert the department. Meanwhile, I'd keep this quiet. If the culprit realizes you have their playbook, they'll bolt. Or come looking for it, Lila said. Later that morning, Jonah returned. Upon hearing the update, he clasped his hands in excitement. A real-life bibliographic mystery. We must investigate provenance. Who would mail a priceless comic anonymously? Lila fired up the shop's ancient desktop and searched estate sales, auctions, lost collections. Nothing. She contacted the certified guarantee company, whose label had entombed the Sentinel. A customer service rep emailed minutes later. That book was slabbed in 2012 for a Mr. Gerald Combs, Chicago. Gerald Combs, Jonah repeated. Name rings a bell. Didn't he teach art at Lane Tech? Lila located a phone number and called. No answer, only a voicemail greeting. This is Gerald. Leave the world better than you found it. Harriet texted at noon. One cruiser posted near the Kimball water tower tonight. Still thin ice with my lieutenant, she added. Need more evidence than Golden Age storyline. Which meant Lila had 12 hours to dig up proof. She enlisted Toby Kim, a college freshman who handled the shop's social media. Over grilled cheese sandwiches in the back room, she narrated everything. Toby cracked his knuckles, laptop whirring. Let's see, Gerald Combs. Oh, obituary posted 3 weeks ago. Died of heart failure. No surviving family except a nephew, Everett Keene, who lives in Uptown. Jonah frowned. If Combs died, someone cleared out his belongings. Our comic might have gone missing in the shuffle. Toby kept scrolling. Everett Keene sells vintage toys on eBay. Look, newest listing. Golden Age comic art pages, unknown publisher, been $500. Photo shows Copper Sentinel page. The auction went live 2 days ago. So Everett broke the slab, scanned pages, and mailed the rest to lure attention while he staged crimes, Lila speculated. Toby's eyes widened. Telemetry shows he's been posting from an IP address inside Logan Square. He's local, Jonah said. Perhaps scoping targets. Harriet, upon hearing this, authorized plainclothes surveillance near the water tower. But she warned Lila to stay put. Sure, Lila lied. Snow thickened after sunset. Lila closed early, claiming an upset stomach. She stuffed the Sentinel into her insulated backpack, plus thermos of coffee, knit hat, and flashlight. Jonah, equally stubborn, insisted on joining. At 4:30 a.m., they crouched behind a dumpster opposite the water tower. The structure's silhouette loomed like a giant thimble in pre-dawn gloom. Patrol lights flashed sporadically down the block. Harriet's officers maintained a perimeter, unaware 2 civilians hid inside it. 15 minutes before dawn, footsteps crunched. A figure in a black parka and raccoon mask approached the ladder rungs. He carried a canvas satchel that clanked. "Bingo," Jonah whispered. Lila grabbed her phone to snap evidence, but her gloves brushed the screen, triggering the camera's shutter sound, loud as a gunshot in the stillness. The masked man jerked his head. Lila's flashlight slithered from her pocket and clattered across asphalt. The figure bolted, scaling the ladder with freakish speed. Lila started after him, but Jonah gripped her arm. "Police, now!" She dialed Harriet, explaining in gasps. Sirens wailed. The burglar tossed the satchel, clang, clang, down the interior of the tower and leapt to an adjacent rooftop, disappearing into alley mazes. Officers arrived too late to follow. Inside the satchel, a battery-powered drill, metal wedges, and a blueprint of the water tower's valve system. Evidence enough for Harriet's lieutenant to take the threat seriously. But Lila felt defeated. The burglar had escaped and now knew someone watched. At dawn's first pink hue, Lila noticed something else in the satchel, a torn comic page, number 23, depicting the Sentinel halting a robbery at the Logan Auditorium Holiday Toy Convention. Text bubble. "All eyes are on collectibles during the season of giving." Scribbled beside it, "Sunday, 2:00 p.m. Be ready." That's day after tomorrow, Jonah calculated. Everett runs a toy business, perfect cover. Harriet stationed officers near Logan Auditorium, but staffing gaps remained. "Parade of lights ties up resources," she complained. "We can't cordon the event without mass panic." "Then Jonah, Toby, and I will volunteer as security," Lila offered. True to cozy mystery form, Harriet sighed but accepted. Sunday arrived bright and brittle. The convention overflowed with retro tin robots, matchbox cars, and wall-to-wall Marvel posters. Lila's makeshift security badge read Community Liaison, which she translated to Busybody on Patrol. Jonah settled into a folding chair beside the cash-only ticket booth, miraculously entrusted with the lockbox. Toby roamed the aisles wearing smart glasses, streaming video back to Harriet's tablet. At 1:45 p.m., the building's power flickered, then steadied. Marionettes in one booth swung like hanged men before writing. The house PA crackled with feedback. Lila tensed. From her backpack, she withdrew the copper sentinel and studied page 23. A crucial detail emerged. In the comics panel, the villain's raccoon mask hung from his belt, not covering his face. The costume he wore instead, a copper sentinel outfit mocking the hero. She scanned the crowd. Cosplayers abounded. Batmans, Deadpools, a She-Hulk mid-photo shoot. But only one copper sentinel, a tall man near the vintage Hot Wheels table, copper-colored cape brushing salt-strewn linoleum. Lila pushed through families and cardboard boxes. As she approached, the Sentinel cosplayer opened a plastic crate marked Estate Sale, $5 each, extracted a smaller box, and slipped it under his cape. He pivoted towards the exit behind the stage. "Excuse me," Lila called, voice shaking. "Love your costume. Handmade." The man froze, eyes narrowed beneath a half-mask of burnished foam. "Thanks," he said, voice muffled by cheap voice modulator. Up close, Lila recognized his jawline from eBay profile pictures Toby had shown, Everett Keene. She positioned herself between him and the exit. "I run panel by panel. We specialize in Lakeshore books." Everett's gaze flickered to her backpack, where the original Sentinel issue peaked. His posture changed, coiled. "That belongs to me," he hissed. "Funny, it was mailed to me." "Address mix-up, hand it over and no one gets hurt." Jonah, sensing trouble, ambled over, pretending clumsiness. He stumbled against Everett, knocking the crate from under the cape. It spilled onto the floor, Silver Age keys, graded Pokemon cards, and the velvet crust pastry wheel wrapped in bubble wrap. Gasps erupted. "Hey, that's mine!" Noreen cried from her nearby pie pop stand. Harriet had been monitoring through Toby's glasses. Now she sprinted from the lobby with 2 officers. Everett tried to flee, but Jonah's cane hooked his ankle. He crashed into a display of Funko Pops, which avalanched with cartoonish squeaks. Officers cuffed him amid the toppled figurines. Attendees applauded, assuming it was an elaborate LARP. Back in the station interrogation room, Everett folded quickly. He'd discovered his Uncle Gerald's cache of Lakeshore comics while cleaning the house for probate. Reading issue No. 13, he admired how its linked stories formed a treasure map of Logan Square's quirks. A collector since childhood, he hatched a plan. Dramatize each fictitious crime to create viral mystique, then discover the comic and sell it for astronomical sums. He slipped marginal notes of dates and times, inspired by Uncle Gerald's own habit of annotating. The slabbed copy, however, was too recognizable to sell openly, so he mailed it anonymously to the neighborhood's only comic store, betting its legend would spread and enhance demand. "You weren't worried the crimes might turn violent?" Harriet asked. "Victimless," Everett protested. "Insurance covers cash, and the water tower plan, harmless flood." He sighed. "I never even wanted the pastry wheel. It was shiny." The state's attorney would ultimately decide charges, but for now, Lila's neighborhood could exhale. 3 days later, panel by panel hosted a thank-you gathering. Noreen supplied guava hand pies, velvet crust's window fixed with fresh glass. Harriet arrived in sweatshirt and jeans, for once off duty. Toby set up a projector to display digitized copper sentinel panels. Jonah, blushing, posed for selfies as Kung Fu Master. Lila placed the now re-slabbed issue Nushrakra 13 in a shadow box by the register. A brass plaque read, "The comic that saved Logan Square." She wondered if that was too hyperbolic, but customers loved it. Near closing, Harriet lingered. "You realize if you'd been 10 seconds slower, Everett might have disappeared with collectibles worth 60 grand. What can I say? Comics teach timing," Lila joked, but her voice softened. "Thanks for trusting me." Harriet grinned. "You're a pain, but useful." She produced a rolled poster, the Sentinel cover enlarged and polished. A gift from Evidence. Turns out Lakeshore Comics donated their original film plates to the public library in the 50s. Jonah's scanning them for an exhibit. Lila accepted the poster, heart swelling. Snow swirled beyond the glass door. Another blanket, another beginning. She locked up, dimmed the lightning bolt sign, and whispered into the quiet store. "Good night, heroes." Somewhere between the hush of long boxes and the hum of the heater, she could almost hear panels turning themselves, ready for the next adventure.